absolutely beautiful Scorpio friends. Welcome to your horoscope for October of 2022, where I get to say happy birthday to you, Scorpio. We begin Scorpio season. This is your annual reset. Hopefully, it's my honest to goodness hope that as we travel through the busyness that Scorpio season brings to us through October and November, that the eclipses that have been brought right into your life, because if it's not in your sign, then it's in your relationship placements, right? So you've really got this me, we, myself, and my relationship dynamics going. So my greatest hope for you, Scorpio, is that you feel at this point in the year or within the next 3 to 6 months, this freedom from bondage is what I'm calling it. And it's not necessarily bondage in the sense of trapped. But if there are things, commitments that have been in your life for a very long time and now you've come to the end of them, if there are relationships that you've outgrown, if there are places in your life where you feel like you have a better understanding of yourself and others, and there's this freedom that lifts you, from the worry, from resentment, from burdens, and also, more greatly than anything, freedom from the self that you have known for a very long time, which was far too limited to take you on the journey that you're going to go to next, Scorpio. So I hope all of those big, beautiful things for you, plus anything that you are hoping to achieve during your birthday season. So let's get in here, Scorpio, and talk about what October has to offer you. Now, first and foremost, we've got the eclipses coming, okay? And it's going to be in your sign. We've got the sun coming into your sign. We've also got your ruling planet Pluto coming out of retrograde. We've got your other ruling planet Mars going into retrograde. So lots of shifting and moving of planets this month. So I want you to be mindful of that. I also would love for you to be mindful that even though Mars is not hitting its retrograde until the end of the month, that is the planet of get up and go, of do stuff, right? And in your energy, it's like Pluto burns it down and you're able to go to hell and back with that Plutonian energy and transform and all of these great things. But Pluto burns it down, transforms it, and then you got to do something with that transformation. And that is the portion I think Mars plays in your energy. So remember, the pushing, the forcing, the fighting, any of that is not for you this month. It doesn't mean you shut down, lay down, and do nothing, but it does mean that instead of trying to go, trying to push, trying to force, you use that Mars energy to review your strategy, to review why you're doing what you're doing, how you're getting things done, to take actions to free you from burdens of the past, right? That's a great use of this Mars moving into retrograde and retrograde energy as well. And I think you can really do so much good of disconnecting yourself from joint resources, whether those be spiritual from this lifetime to the next lifetime, commitments that you took on 19 years ago and now you're at the end of them. You can free yourself from that set of networks. So I just want you to remember, Mars is still heading into retrograde, so the get up and go has kind of gotten up and went. So be mindful of that as we're traveling. If you're finding yourself feeling more angry, more frustrated, more resentful, these are signs that you're probably pushing too hard, okay? All right, Scorpio, right at the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we've got Mercury coming out of retrograde at 24 degrees of Virgo. Now, this is fantastic because, first of all, this lights up your 11th house space. So your long-range ambitions and goals for yourself, but also your tribe, your friends, your organizations that you've been connected with, social media, things in the social spheres, all of these things, now you can kind of make decisions around them, move some things forward. Now, I would really love for you, Scorpio, to think back August 20th of 2022, so this year. What were you doing in your 11th house? This is when Mercury got to 24 degrees of Virgo. So what was happening for you? What were you doing? What were you working on? What were you getting organized around? What were you starting to get your priorities together, or you thought this is a priority? I'm discerning that this is a priority. Where did you find yourself being of service to others in this way, or getting ready to? Now, during the retrograde time, you've had an opportunity to do that, to serve in that way, or to see the opportunities. And now that Mercury is out of retrograde, you can take them and start to make some decisions moving forward. Please keep in mind that Mercury is not fully out of its retrograde cycle until we get to October 16th, okay? But this is still good news. Some things are moving forward, and slowly the fog of the beginning of October will start to fade as we get closer and closer to the 16th. When we get to the 8th, we're going to see Pluto, one of your ruling planets, move direct. This is fantastic. When the ruling planets are online, you just have a little bit more zhuzh, you have a little bit more vitality. Now, think back to April 29th of this year. That is when Pluto went retrograde at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Okay, and it's coming direct at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So these things were all in your third house. So it is what gave me part of this signature to say, you're free. Something's done. Something's been burnt off, right? It's been destroyed. It's been destructed. And now you are empowered or free in a different way. So in the third house, I was thinking of writing, communication, things with siblings, contracts. Maybe you've been studying something, working on a website, any of these things. During the Pluto retrograde time, these things probably came back to your table for review. And truly, if you have anything going on in connection with work or the government or an authority figure in some way, shape, or form, you may have really found that those things were shifting and changing. And as Pluto does this direct motion now, you find that you have more clarity, you have more freedom, you feel like you're more empowered as you move forward, okay? On the 9th, we've got a full moon happening at 16 degrees of Aries. The full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment. Now, this is happening for you in your 6th house of daily routines. So it's not your job. It's the things you do in your job, the returning the emails, the making the copies. Does anybody make copies anymore? You make copies, right? Doing all of the mundane things, the brushing your teeth in the morning. How do you rise? How do you go to bed? Now, one of the other things I think of as well, looking at this particular set of energies for you, is that how much time do you spend thinking about what's going on in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day routine? How much time are you mulling over things? Are you giving yourself time during your day, during your expression of your own autonomy in where you're going to be independent, to breathe, to move yourself with the energy of fire? Are these things happening for you? Do you feel like, yeah, I go out and I've got my relationships that I need to tend to? Absolutely. But I've also got this thing that I do to care for myself, because my mind, body, and spirit affect each other. What I'm thinking about impacts my body. Okay, now other things, you may have some opportunities, Scorpio, that show up over here on your doorstep. And it's like, yeah, you could really take that on. Or something shows up and you're like, I gotta go to war on this, right? So one thing I would tell you is that at this particular moon, the ruling planet Mars slowed down, ready for that retrograde, also having a conversation with Neptune, who is retrograde. I will tell you, if you start or you launch a war, that's fine. If you need to file a lawsuit, if you're going to lodge a complaint, if you're going to take any of those actions, I want you to be mindful, because when Mars is heading to retrograde or in retrograde, the one who starts the war is not always the victor. So hang tight. See what needs to shift or to adjust here, okay? Your autonomy, your independence, your freedom from burden, all of this is on the way, but it might not need to be done in the way that you're thinking. So, you know, be open to a little bit of surprise as well. We're still under the last portion of the Saturn-Uranus square. So what you're thinking it is, it might not be that, okay? Now, as we get to the 10th, we see Mercury move into the energy of Libra. So it's nice. It's moving forward a little bit more, but not quite out of retrograde just yet. So this is moving it back into your 12th house space. things that have to do with our undoing, but also things that have to do with rebalancing, my rest, my rejuvenation, taking care of illnesses or conditions that I can't see, but they are there, taking care of children, babies, things with elderly people, your creative talents, researching something. You're getting into the depths of researching. Mercury in the 12th house is finding that information, right? Any of those things, you may be, oh, okay, and you could be truly, Scorpio, if something comes up that is legal or something feels like it's unjust, you could feel like you're going to step into it because it's not fair. Those would be the wordings I would think of if something comes up for you here. Either way, I would hold tight, let the information come to you, make any decisions that you need to after about the 16th, but also keep in mind whatever you're making decisions on has likely been on your table already. It's not necessarily anything new, okay? When we get to the 16th, Mercury will move out of its post-retrograde shadow time, so then we're fully moving forward, and soon it will move out of Libra and into your sign all the way around. Now on the 23rd, busy day. First and foremost, we've got Saturn coming out of retrograde at 18 degrees of Aquarius. We saw it go into retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius, June 4th. What was going on June 4th for you? Something that felt like an authority, something that felt like a commitment, something like that, was maybe being brought to your table and now it's been under review. Where were you stepping into your own expertise? You're leveling up, right? Some structures, some foundations, some beliefs underneath you were maybe coming apart and you were maturing into what is next, okay? So as you look at this Saturn coming direct here at this 18 degrees, it's in your 4th house, home, family, real estate, property. If you were thinking, okay, I'm ready to sell this property that I was going to flip, this might be the time to be able to do it. Or maybe you feel like you've gained some expertise in the home zone. Because I honestly think too, at a social level, are you helping people understand something about home? Are you working from home? Are you doing tech from home? This is still Aquarian energy. Do you have people, friends coming to your home? What's going on in a very social way? And it can still feel Saturnian, but Saturn can also reinvigorate commitments that you've made to yourself within your own home. So in the social sphere of your own home, are there commitments that you're ready to step into or out of in a different way? Okay, as we also are here on the 23rd, we've got Venus moving into the energy of Scorpio, then the Sun moving into the energy of Scorpio. So happy birthday at this particular time. And just to cap that whole thing off, a couple days later on the 25th, we've got the new moon solar eclipse happening at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So lighting up your sign. This is about you fundamentally at this point in the year, and from 2014, October 2014 until now, you are rearranged. You are fundamentally, emotionally, financially different than you were back then. So think back, what was happening back there in 2014, and what's the pattern of your life look like now? What's a little bit different? Maybe you've outgrown some of that energy. Some of that stuff was dying off at the time, and now you're empowered. Furthermore, go back 19 years ago. What were you doing 19 years ago? Maybe you were at the beginning of something, or something was happening in your housing zone. You were stepping into a commitment. What was happening for you 19 years ago? Because we just live our patterns. So this eclipse is going to give you an opportunity over the next 3 to 6 months, depending on where it falls in your chart, to do these changes, to plant these seeds of intention. Take yourself out bigger than you've ever been before. Let yourself be free of the burden of holding yourself back or other things that you felt were holding you back before. And I think you really, as the months go on, you see yourself able to step into it more. This steps into you're moving beyond your regular earning potential, right? Because when I can take myself out, I have more confidence. Sometimes I have age, which equals confidence. I can also demand a little bit more for my skills. So this is also, I think, a really fantastic eclipse for you financially, as well as just getting free from some of the burden that held you back. It's really nice, expansive energy for you. But some things had to go in order for you to step into what's next. And that is not always easy. So let go, take the chokehold off of whatever it is, and walk forward anew, okay? On the 28th, Jupiter slides back into the energy of Pisces. So over here now, we've got Neptune traveling over here, so it lights up your fifth house space. Now, one thing I was thinking about is Jupiter in Pisces. You know, the fifth house is about children. Joy, self-expression, taking a risk, whether that be you're investing in something, you're starting your own business, you're doing conception, you're creating babies, somebody in your life is bringing babies into your life, you're doing things around children, whatever that signature has looked like. But I was also thinking for you, you know, did you have children that went out and started their own journeys? Did your company start its own journey? Did you yourself start your own journey? Do you have a romance that has started its own journey when Jupiter was in Pisces? And now Jupiter is coming back. It's sliding back in this retrograde to see if you have greater understanding, to see if the structure and the foundation is strong enough here. Do you have enough wisdom to receive the good fortune of navigating this particular area? The other thing I think of is there is this like something is not clear in this area. Neptune is still retrograde. So I got a sense of in this fifth house zone, you may be thinking you're going to launch something forward, or it was definitely going to look like this, and it surprises you that it looks a little bit different. That's not necessarily a bad thing at all. It's simply that you couldn't at any time see the full details. You couldn't fully understand the value or the human value or the human compassion or you just couldn't at the time. It's very Neptunian. So just keep your eyes on that and let life still surprise you in really awesome ways, okay? Now, as we get to the 29th, we're going to see Mercury slide into your sign. I love this for you because Mercury in your sign gets very focused. I mean, it gets focused. If you are looking at yourself, you are looking at something you're involved in, you're looking at your world, you're making decisions for what you want for your next annual year, you're looking at that advertising, you're looking at that trip you want to take, you're looking at that relationship you want to be in, you're looking at that meditation you're going to do, whatever you go to, you are able to look at yourself, research, dig out what's going on, and make some decisions. Now, Mercury in your sign is Mercury in your sign. If you have been holding resentment, remember, you dig. Mercury and Scorpio will dig. If there is resentment down there, it is going to dig it up and put it right here and be like, hey, right here, right? But here to here is a long journey. So I want you, Scorpio, to be checking the stories that are coming up in your head through October and November. Is it really the story? Is that really what's going on? Or is it the story that your head's telling you? Drop back into that Jupiter Pisces place where you're like, hold on. What's the honesty? What's the compassion that I can reach here? Because Mercury is good at digging up or bringing to your attention new information on old things, and the old thing it's looking over is you, right? So stories you've been telling yourself that don't fit your current reality have been creating burden, and now this is a chance to get free. But it's also a fantastic opportunity to sign that contract. Go ahead, take yourself out there, launch that YouTube channel, put yourself out there. Get prepared to leave your 9 to 5 to do something else. Take that vacation, whatever it is, wherever Scorpio goes, there Scorpio is. And this is a great time for you to focus on where Scorpio wants to go. Now, as we're closing this month, we've got Mars, one of your ruling planets, heading into retrograde. Now, Mars is going to step into its retrograde at 25 degrees of Gemini. This lights up your 8th house space. So this is, again, like a shared resource, but it's a digging space, right? It's the 8th house. It's deep. It's the place where we can feel a fall. There's intimacy. There's vulnerability. My joint connections are here. Death, debt, taxes, joint resources, something with a partner, something with a resource that you are connected to, you're going to review. So from September all the way until spring of 2023, you are under review here. Now, some of this could be financial for you. It absolutely could be financial. And I'm telling you, with Mercury and Scorpio, if you're connected to something financial and you have a resentment about it or whatever, I want you to really look at that, okay? Really look at that and make some decisions about what you want to do. But also, my goodness, Mercury is in Scorpio. I think about how sometimes we will limit our earning or our expansion potentials, or we won't collaborate or get together with people because we don't know how good we are, because the 8th house also holds the scariest secret in the world, and that is that what you do, you are really good at, and you're good at doing it your way, but you've got to come and do it. So remember, the Mars retrograde is not about hide under a rock, don't do anything. It's review what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're getting it done. And with Gemini, who's in your network, what contracts are in your life, what is the study, the decision making that needs to be done in order for you to move forward successfully. I'll say this one last thing about contracts. This keeps coming up for me. If you have contracts going in your life, Scorpio, and they come back up for review during this Mars retrograde, look it over 100 times. Get double eyes on that and make sure that the conditions you wish to participate in are in place in that contract, okay? All right, my beautiful Scorpio friends, I wish you a happy birthday, a happy whole next year, and the freedom from whatever you feel like's been weighing you down, or the courage to take the action you need to be burden free so that you can travel in the way you would most like to. I love you a ton, and I will see you next month. Bye.